Graduates, families, and friends, please rise for the party of the President of the University of Georgia.
Good afternoon. The University of Georgia welcomes members of the class of 2021 and their families and friends to this fall's graduate commencement ceremony. Here at the birthplace, yes. Here at the birthplace of public higher education in America, we are proud to celebrate the accomplishments of our outstanding students with all of you today. Please remain standing for the presentation of the flag of the United States of America and the flag of the state of Georgia, to be followed by our national anthem. The colors will be presented by cadets from the University of Georgia Air Force and Army ROTC units. The national anthem will be sung this afternoon by Abigail Head, a vocal performance major from Roanoke, Virginia. Following the national anthem, please continue standing for the invocation to be offered by Lindsay Atkinson, Lead Associate Director of the Wesley Foundation.
Gracious God, we come from various faiths and spiritual traditions to honor the hard work and accomplishments of our graduates. We praise you for the opportunity to pursue higher education and for the chance to be a part of something larger than ourselves. We pray that you would direct the steps of each graduate, make them confident leaders in their communities, in our state, and in our world. Give them peace and assurance as they leave this season of their life and step into the next. May they be lifelong learners, and may they never forget the pride there is in being a Georgia Bulldog. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you, Abigail, and thanks to Lindsay for those words this afternoon. I also want to express my appreciation to the UGA Air Force and Army ROTC cadets for presenting our colors. Today, we gather in this setting to formalize the accomplishments of the class of 2021. To our graduates, we recognize your hard work and dedication, your tenacity in overcoming challenges, and your commitment to the ideals of the University of Georgia. To the family members and friends in the audience, I want to take a moment to express my appreciation to you for your patience and for your perseverance. Our graduates could not have reached their goals without your support, so thank you. Amid the ongoing pandemic, the challenges set before us have been great, but the resolve of the UGA community has been even greater. The past 2 years have been some of the most difficult in the history of this university, as well as our nation and the world. But today, we are reminded that anything is possible when we work together. The symbols and rituals we incorporate in this commencement ceremony, from the wearing of the red and black to the college and school banners on our stage and the singing of our alma mater, are all sacred traditions. They bind us together as alumni, now more than 340,000 strong. As a fellow alumnus, it's my honor to stand alongside you as a devoted member of the Bulldog Nation. We are loyal, we are proud, and we make a positive difference in the world around us. All of you go forth today now as ambassadors of one of the nation's most prominent land-grant institutions and the birthplace of public higher education in America. You are a steward of a 236-year tradition of teaching, research, and service. You are leaving here now with the capacity to shape the future of your community, your state, our nation, and indeed the whole world. We expect uncommon things of you because you are now a graduate of the University of Georgia. Congratulations to all of you. Now it's my distinct pleasure to introduce our graduate commencement speaker, Dr. Michelle Cook. Dr. Cook has served as the Vice Provost for Diversity and Inclusion and Strategic University Initiatives since 2017. She holds a bachelor's degree in history from Princeton University, a master's degree in African American Studies from Yale University, and a doctorate in history from Duke University. Dr. Cook also chairs the university's Diversity Advisory Council. During her tenure as Vice Provost, UGA has received national recognition for our work in diversity, earning the Higher Education Excellence in Diversity Award from Insight into Diversity. She is a member of the National Association of Diversity Officers in Higher Education and has served as Secretary and President of the Georgia Association of Diversity Officers in Higher Education. Dr. Cook co-facilitated the development of the university's 2025 strategic plan and our Diversity and Inclusion Excellence Plan, and she works to support multiple institutional initiatives across the entire campus. Her outstanding leadership and service are gifts to the entire UGA community. It gives me great pleasure to welcome today's graduate commencement speaker, Dr. Michelle Cook. Dr. Cook.
Thank you very much, President Moorhead, for that introduction. It is truly an honor to offer remarks this afternoon, and I am humbled by the opportunity. 2021 graduates, congratulations. Today, you officially become graduates of the University of Georgia. What a remarkable achievement. To the family, friends, faculty, and other supporters, congratulations to you as well. You have been there for today's graduates, and I know that I express their sentiment when I say thank you. Your support has been everything. Considering this address and what I could possibly share with such an accomplished group of graduates, I thought about the things that have mattered to me. I specifically reflected on significant and impactful events and moments that have occurred on our campus and in our community. To be truthful, there are many, but one event really helped center and crystallize what I would like to share today. Earlier this fall, the University of Georgia dedicated markers in honor of the National Pan-Hellenic Council Historically Black Fraternities and Sororities here on campus. This was an exciting day as hundreds gathered on the lawn outside of the Tate Student Center to attend the dedication. But what struck me the most is that scores of UGA alumni returned on that day, many who chartered those organizations on our campus over 50 years ago. They came back to campus because of what the markers represented to them. These markers represented a pivotal experience in their lives, a shared experience of being students, involved, engaged, who made significant contributions to the University of Georgia through these historical organizations. The markers are a permanent symbol and reminder that they too are UGA. Now, to the average person, these are basically rectangular pieces of granite, beautifully hewn, cut, engraved, and installed, but granite all the same. At a base level, large rocks. And yet, they signify so much more. They represent to so many students and former students the significance of what it means to be a UGA student, a bulldog, what it means to be seen and recognized. The memory of that day when the markers was dedicated stays with me today as I reflect on the significance of markers in our lives and how they are representations of where we have been, what we have done, how we have moved through this world. I invite you to consider the markers of your own life. Some are large, momentous, and public, such as today, as you graduate from the University of Georgia, here on this beautiful campus, with all of the pomp and circumstance deserving of your achievement. Right here between the hedges at Sanford Stadium. This is a marker of your life. Today is also special to me as I have many friends who are graduating this afternoon. Stacia Fink, who completed her master's degree, Dr. Katie Chapman, Dr. Ashley Love, and special congratulations to my friend and colleague, Dr. Alton Standifer, who marks 2021 with both a wedding to his lovely wife, Brittany, and completion of his doctorate. Double congratulations. And yet, for every celebratory public marker, there are numerous others, most of which are private, more personal, but just as significant in the trajectory of our lives. There's so many messages that would have been appropriate for my address today as you all embark on the next chapter of your lives as graduates of the University of Georgia. But I want to encourage you to consider the markers of your life. Those moments, those events, those conversations, those memories that make you who you are, that make your life what it is. I want to encourage you to not just give thought, value, and credence to the large public markers that are perfectly hewn and polished, but also continue to consider those markers that may appear to be just simple events that mark your lives. To others, they may seem insignificant, but those happenstance conversations, those everyday events, those random comments can have a remarkable impact on you as a person. In preparing this address, I reflected on my own life markers. For me, those that have had the most personal significance are typically those that involve others. Conversations, private moments, memories, and experiences that remind me of who I am and who I strive to be. Let me give you an example. My husband Kevin and I have 2 young daughters, Katie and Chloe. Perhaps the most cherished moments are those when Kevin and I are at home with the girls, making s'mores in the fireplace, watching Doctor Who, and just being together. Those are those moments when I must stop, consider, look around, and realize that I would rather be no other place in the world. These small markers that occur on any given winter evening are priceless, life-sustaining, and memorable. There are other markers that can determine the future trajectory of your life. These, while often unplanned, can be life-defining. The year, 1990, and it was spring semester of my junior year. Everyone was making post-collegiate plans. The soon-to-be titans of business were knee-deep in internship applications. The pre-meds were studying for the MCAT, and the future lawyers of America were drafting personal statements about how they would help shape the future of the American legal system. And then there was me, the history major, who had submerged herself in a junior thesis in the bowels of the library for months, dusting off books, scanning miles of microfilm, and enjoying the intellectual gratification of burying oneself into a specific area of intellectual inquiry. In other words, I had no idea what I would do after college. But then, a chance encounter with one of my professors changed that. Dr. Cornell West was a philosophy professor, and I had taken every non-major course that he offered. And he saw me on campus one day and asked what did I plan to do after graduation. In his usual style of talking faster than most people can think, he responded before I could and said, "You should go to graduate school. You would do well there, and I would be happy to write you a letter of recommendation." Needless to say, that sealed it for me. I honestly believe that that conversation is the reason that I'm here today. The intersection that occurred that day placed a permanent marker in my life. And I will tell you that while he was a brilliant professor, I don't remember any specific lecture, lesson, or assignment, but I do remember that conversation. It was a marker and a signpost, if you will, for my educational and professional life. The lesson here is just as there are markers that represent moments in your life, it is important to consider how you show up in the lives of others, just as Dr. West showed up in mine. What type of marker am I in the lives of the people that I meet? Taking the time to recognize life markers enables me to see the value in the smallest interaction, conversation. My markers not only define my life, but they are impenetrable tethers that connect me to family, friends, and community. There is so much that we don't have control over, but how we show up is ours to determine. What do I mean by show up? This is all about how we interact with others. It can be in person virtual or on social media. It can be in the classroom, our workplace, the Starbucks, or in an Uber. It can also be with our strongest friends and closest allies, or with acquaintances and perfect strangers. I will tell you that for me, I choose to show up as positively and affirming as I possibly can. I decided some time ago that I have limited energy and that negative energy comes at too high of a cost for me. But positive energy is like a hybrid engine. The more I use, the more I generate. So part of my decision to show up positively is self-serving. At the end of the day, I can't afford to just run on fumes because I burned all of my energy. I need to self-generate. After all, I cannot control the energy of others. I am a firm believer in being the change that I want to see in the world, in modeling the behavior that I want to see by treating people with dignity and respect. We are not an island. Life with all of our personal markers also intersects, bisects, and overlap with the journeys and markers of others. So how do you show up in the lives of others? How are you a significant marker? A marker that contributes to their lives in large and small ways. We impact and influence the markers in the lives of others just as they often impact our own. This has been particularly true for me this year because I lost my mother this summer. My brother Brian and I were fortunate to have two amazing parents who poured into us throughout their lives. We were truly the centers of their world. The devastating loss that I felt with my mother's passing cannot be overstated. Initially, this marker felt overwhelming and debilitating, but I soon realized that it was not just a marker in my life, but in the lives of the many people who knew and loved her. Interestingly and surprisingly, over the past few months, this marker has seemed to change, to shed layers, and become something slightly different. It has become a marker that is no longer focused on pain and grief, but on family, love, and a genuine celebration of what we have, rather than what we have lost. My Aunt Sadie, my Uncle Ray, my Uncle Larry, as well as a multitude of cousins, friends, colleagues, and others, have helped me to see the loss of my mother in a totally different way. They are here to support me today and remind me that I am not alone. I am not an island, but we share this marker, and we have a shared experience of loss that we have cultivated into a deepening of family and friendship that is stronger than ever. Too often we try to ignore markers and events that have negative memories, painful memories, memories of loss and heartache. While I would never encourage you to park near such a marker, I do encourage you to recognize that they too have value. Perhaps it is a window that opens when a door closes, the unlikely relationships, a shift from pain to purpose. Regardless, in your lives, always look for the lesson. That has been my approach over the last couple of years, living through a pandemic, personal illness, and then a loss. I am a person of faith, and therefore my constant prayer is, Lord, what is the lesson for me here? I don't find value in asking why me when things don't go my way, but I always want to make sure that I learn something from the experience. The reality is that life often requires us to do hard things. Many of our life markers are rough-hewn, representing struggle, sacrifice, and real effort. Today may be such a marker for you. I am impressed and inspired by the stories that many of you have regarding your path to this day. Working parents, commuting students, those juggling full-time work and school, family responsibilities, financial hardships, loss, and other challenges. Again, you as graduates can do hard things, and you are here. Earning your graduate degree is an incredible accomplishment. Believe me, I know, I remember. But you have successfully completed this hard thing. Congratulations. Graduates, please remember that today is not just a significant marker for you, but for everyone who loves, cares about you, and supports you. The poet Lucille Clifton wrote, "Things don't fall apart, things hold. Lines connect in thin ways that last, and lives become generations made out of pictures and words just kept." Over the course of your lives, there will be many times you will recognize these connecting lines that last and impact not only you, but those who will come after you and those who are in your footsteps. Hopefully, you will find meaning and purpose in those connections, those markers. As I close, consider the markers of your life. Allow yourself time to reflect on what really matters. I am reminded of the words of Henry David Thoreau, in which he stated, "You must live in the present, launch yourself on every wave, find your eternity in every moment." Graduates, stand in this moment. At commencements and graduations, friends, family, and acquaintances tend to ask, "What's next? What are you going to do now?" While a perfectly valid and appropriate question, I would encourage you today to let today be sufficient unto itself. Rather than worry about or look into tomorrow, look around today. Enjoy the people who are celebrating with you. Enjoy the moment as you make memories that will hold. Today is a marker to be lived fully present in this moment. It is your day. So to the fall and summer 2021 graduates, my most heartfelt congratulations. Go forth and be well, and as always, go Dogs.
Thank you, Dr. Cook, for your inspiring words and your many years of extraordinary service to the University of Georgia. Your remarks are clearly most appropriate as these graduates now step out to meet those challenges that lie ahead. Thank you again for all that you do for the University of Georgia. Today, all of you become alumni of the University of Georgia. To welcome you into our alumni family, I'm proud to introduce the 77th president of the UGA Alumni Association, Yvette Daniels. Yvette is a proud double dog, originally from Atlanta. She earned a bachelor's degree in political science from UGA in 1986, and then a law degree in 1989 from the UGA School of Law. She spent 6 years as an assistant state attorney in Florida and then joined the Georgia Department of Public Health, where she is now the Director of University Relations. Her passion for policy, mentorship, and relationship building has guided her entire career, and it guides her support now for the University of Georgia. Yvette has served on the Alumni Board of Directors since 2015, and we appreciate her unwavering support of her alma mater. Let's hear from Yvette.
Thank you, President Moorhead. Class of 2021, you made it. Welcome to the UGA alumni family. This family is more than 340,000 strong. Each of us has a different story, but we are all Bulldogs for life. No matter the road you took to Athens, the path you forged on campus, or where your journey takes you, your Bulldog family is here for you. Think back to the moment when you received your acceptance email with fireworks, or when you gathered in Sanford Stadium to form the G on the field. Your Alumni Association honors those moments every day by bringing alumni together year-round, worldwide, and lifelong. There are more than 80 alumni chapters led by passionate volunteers ready to welcome you back to your hometown or to an entirely new city. There are no dues to be a member of this family, and we're ready to support you as your next chapter begins. We are UGA alumni, and we never bark alone. Go Dogs!
We greatly appreciate Yvette's leadership of the Alumni Association, and the support and assistance of alumni are essential in our continued quest for excellence at the University of Georgia. I hope all of you will remain connected with the university through our Alumni Association. I now want to take just a moment to introduce the senior administrators of the university who in their operational areas have contributed to your education. Their names and photos will be shown on the Jumbotron. Please hold your applause until all have been introduced. Dr. Jack Hu, the Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost. Mr. Ryan Nesbitt, the Vice President for Finance and Administration. Mr. Kelly Kerner, the Vice President for Development and Alumni Relations. Dr. Raul Srivastav, the Vice President for Instruction. Dr. Karen Berg, the Vice President for Research. Dr. Jennifer Frum, the Vice President for Public Service and Outreach. Mr. Victor Wilson, the Vice President for Student Affairs. Mr. Toby Carr, the Vice President for Government Relations. Dr. Kathy Farr, Chief of Staff and Vice President for Marketing and Communications. Dr. Tim Chester, the Vice President for Information Technology. Dr. Marisa Pagnatera, the Vice Provost for Academic Affairs. Dr. Michelle Cook, the Vice Provost for Diversity and Inclusion and Strategic University Initiatives. And Dr. Ron Walcott, the Vice Provost for Graduate Education and Dean of the Graduate School. Please join me in thanking these senior administrators. All right, it's now time for the university to confer upon you the degrees for which you have been recommended. Dr. Pagnatera and Dr. Walcott will assist in this ceremony.
As we begin conferring degrees, let me present to you the deans of the schools and colleges. The deans support the wide spectrum of scholarly and scientific inquiry represented by graduate study and professional programs at the university. Dean Alan Dorsey of the Franklin College of Arts and Sciences. Dean Nick Place of the College of Agricultural and Environmental Sciences. Dean Bo Rutledge of the School of Law. Dean Kelly Smith of the College of Pharmacy. Dean Dale Green of the Daniel B. Warnell School of Forestry and Natural Resources. Dean Denise Spangler of the Mary Frances Early College of Education. Dean Ben Ayers of the C. Herman and Mary Virginia Terry College of Business. Dean Charles Davis of the Henry W. Grady College of Journalism and Mass Communication. Interim Dean Sherry Worthy of the College of Family and Consumer Science. Dean Lisa Nolan of the College of Veterinary Medicine. Dean Anna Chayat of the School of Social Work. Dean Sonia Hurt of the College of Environment and Design. Dean Matt Auer of the School of Public and International Affairs. Dean Marcia Davis of the College of Public Health. Interim Dean Sonia Alzer of the Eugene P. Odom School of Ecology. Campus Dean Shelley Nuss of the Augusta University, University of Georgia Medical Partnership. Dean Don Leo of the College of Engineering. And Dean David Williams of the Jerry W. Moorhead Honors College. Please join me in thanking these deans. It is now time for the university to confer upon you the degrees for which you have been recommended. To present the candidates for degrees, I call on Dr. Ron Walcott.
Thank you. 344 candidates have successfully qualified for doctoral degrees. Today, we will award degrees and then proceed directly to a collective hooding, vesting these outstanding students with the traditional mark of academic achievement for which they've qualified. President Moorhead, on behalf of the graduate faculty, I'm pleased to present to you the candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Philosophy, Doctor of Public Health, Doctor of Education, and Doctor of Musical Arts. Will the candidates please rise?
By the authority vested in me as President of the University of Georgia by the Board of Regents, I now confer on you the degree for which you have been recommended by your dean and faculty, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto appertaining. Congratulations. The hood is the most distinctive feature of academic regalia in the United States and represents the attainment of the doctoral degree and the mastery of a specific discipline and its scholarship. At this time, I invite our doctoral students gathered here today to have the highest symbol of academic accomplishment placed upon your shoulders, signifying this momentous occasion. As you receive this hood, know that the warm wishes of our faculty and staff are with you today. You may proceed with the hooding, although I think a few of you have already done so. Congratulations. You may be seated. In recognition of your high scholastic achievement, your name and degree will now be read and shown on the Jumbotron.
Doctor of Education. Scott Robert Argo, Doctor of Education, Student Affairs Leadership. Major Professor Laura Dean. Anthony Gordon Brantley, Doctor of Education, Higher Education. Major Professor Karen Weber. Marty Ingram Brick, Doctor of Education, Higher Education. Major Professor Eric Ness. Janine Cabrera Velde, Doctor of Education, Learning, Leadership, and Organizational Development. Major Professor Aliki Nicolaitis. Alvi Coase, Doctor of Education, Workforce Education. Major Professor Jay Rojeski. Jennifer Janine Floyd, Doctor of Education, Music Education. Major Professor Roy Leggett. Casey Thomas Geist, Doctor of Education, Higher Education. Major Professor Timothy Kane. Margaret A. Lawrence, Doctor of Education, Higher Education. Major Professor George Spencer. Kelly Adams Lips, Doctor of Education, Higher Education. Major Professor Robert Tukushian. Lynn Cook Mazadorian, Doctor of Education, Higher Education. Major Professor Amy Stitch. Kelly Marie McElroy, Doctor of Education, Higher Education. Major Professor Karen Weber. Kristen Olivia Miller, Doctor of Education, Workforce Education. Major Professor Jay Rojewski. Callan Kennedy Williams, Doctor of Education, Higher Education, Major Professor Eric Ness. Amanda Patricia Yu Win, Doctor of Education, Higher Education, Major Professor George Spencer. Doctor of Musical Arts, San Jing Cui, Doctor of Musical Arts, Music, Major Professor Stephanie Tingler. Min Young Kim, Doctor of Musical Arts, Music, Major Professor Evgeny Rivkin. Rogerio Nunez, Doctor of Musical Arts, Music, Major Professor Levon Abartsumian. Siyan Irene Wells, Doctor of Musical Arts, Music, Major Professor Daniel Boishoy. Doctor of Public Health, Catilia R. Hardin, Doctor of Public Health, Major Professor Donglan Zhang. Vondrakus McLee, Doctor of Public Health, Major Professor Donglang Zhang Zhou Chen. Doctor of Philosophy, Fatima Zara Abdul Nawaz, Doctor of Philosophy, Cellular Biology, Major Professor Edward Kiprios. Marissa Danielle Acciani, Doctor of Philosophy, Comparative Biomedical Science, Major Professor Melinda Brindley. Mir Shoaibullah Adil, Doctor of Philosophy, Pharmacy, Major Professor Somanath Shenoy. Taiwo Solomon Akinyemi, Doctor of Philosophy, Microbiology, Major Professor William Whitman. Asma M. Ali, Doctor of Philosophy, Pharmacy, Major Professor Henry Young. Melissa Allenor, Doctor of Philosophy, Sociology, Major Professor Justine Tinkler. James Daniel Allen, Doctor of Philosophy, Comparative Biomedical Science, Major Professor Ted Ross. Faris Abdullah Al-Muteri, Doctor of Philosophy, Pharmacy, Major Professor Balash Radha Shelley Hooks. Luis Roberto Alvarez Hernandez, Doctor of Philosophy, Social Work, Major Professor Rebecca Matthew. Caitlin Marie Amos, Doctor of Philosophy, Marine Sciences, Major Professor Renato Castelao. Christian Lee Anderson, Doctor of Philosophy, Toxicology, Major Professor Xiaoqin Ye. Melissa Nicole Anderson, Doctor of Philosophy, Kinesiology, Major Professor Julianne Schmidt. Mehdi Asafi, Doctor of Philosophy, Computer Science, Major Professor Hamid Arabnia. Ruben Adelano, Doctor of Philosophy, Counseling Psychology, Major Professor Edward Delgado Romero. Jeffrey Clifford Auerbach, Doctor of Philosophy, Political Science and International Affairs, Major Professor Misha Gell Redman. Danielle Ann Augustine, Doctor of Philosophy, Human Development and Family Science, Major Professor Stephen Kogan. Ashley Caroline Beavis, Doctor of Philosophy, Infectious Diseases, Major Professor Biao He. Stacy R. Bedore, Doctor of Philosophy, Microbiology, Major Professor Ellen Needle. Brittany Michelle Berger, Doctor of Philosophy, Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, Major Professor Walter Schmidt. Olatomiwa Oluwadimolola Biforin, Doctor of Philosophy, Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, Major Professor Arthur Edison. Brianna Michelle Bivens, Doctor of Philosophy, Educational Theory and Practice, Major Professor Elizabeth St. Pierre. Alona Botner, Doctor of Philosophy, Infectious Diseases, Major Professor Dennis Kyle. Kelsey Rose Briggs, Doctor of Philosophy, Infectious Diseases, Major Professor Biao He. Aaliyah Suzanne Brock, Doctor of Philosophy, Communication Sciences and Disorders, Major Professor Sandy Bass Ringdahl. Peter Joseph Brunke, Doctor of Philosophy, Political Science and International Affairs, Major Professor Amanda Murdy. Franziska Barbara Brunner, Doctor of Philosophy, Music, Major Professor Naomi Graber. Pablo David Jimenez Castro, Doctor of Philosophy, Infectious Diseases, Major Professor Ray Kaplan. Catherine Thigpen Chapman, Doctor of Philosophy, Learning, Leadership, and Organizational Development, Major Professor Karen Watkins. Xiaohui Chen, Doctor of Philosophy, Learning, Leadership, and Organizational Development, Major Professor Wendy Ruona. Sagar Godar Chetri, Doctor of Philosophy, Forestry and Natural Resources, Major Professor Yan-Shu Lee. Sarah Michelle Chin, Doctor of Philosophy, Forestry and Natural Resources, Major Professor James Beasley. James Bryant Collins, Doctor of Philosophy, Infectious Diseases, Major Professor Ray Kaplan. Christiane Sherry-Lynn Connolly, Doctor of Philosophy, Counseling Psychology, Major Professor Brian Glazer. Diogo Cosme, Doctor of Philosophy, Romance Languages, Major Professor Timothy Gupton. Jeremy Clark Daniel, Doctor of Philosophy, Workforce Education, Major Professor In Hoc Lee. Aileen Luisa de Oliveira, Doctor of Philosophy, Microbiology, Major Professor Catherine Logue. Flavia Diaz de Souza Morais, Doctor of Philosophy, Geography, Major Professor Thomas Mote. Marcus Damon Dumas, Doctor of Philosophy, Health Promotion and Behavior, Major Professor Jennifer Gay. Catherine Eleanor Ellis, Doctor of Philosophy, Counseling Psychology, Major Professor Linda Campbell. James William Exley IV, Doctor of Philosophy, Psychology, Major Professor W. Keith Campbell. Connor Grant Fair, Doctor of Philosophy, Entomology, Major Professor Joseph McHugh, Mike Ulishin. James Stratton Filler, Doctor of Philosophy, Philosophy, Major Professor Pierce Stevens. Regina Finan, Doctor of Philosophy, Education, Major Professor Annalise Singh. Monica Lee Flamini, Doctor of Philosophy, Educational Administration and Policy, Major Professor Walker Swain. Martha Nega Folk, Doctor of Philosophy, Financial Planning, Housing, and Consumer Economics, Major Professor John Grable. Marlon Liddell Gibson, Doctor of Philosophy, Education, Major Professor Diane Cooper. Aileen Taylor Grant, Doctor of Philosophy, Educational Psychology, Major Professor Stacy Newharth Pritchett. Marissa Ann Gogniat, Doctor of Philosophy, Psychology, Major Professor Stephen Miller. Yahweh Guo, Doctor of Philosophy, Educational Psychology, Major Professor Bonnie Cramond, Tarek Grantham. Carrie Ann Wallace Harmon, Doctor of Philosophy, Learning, Leadership, and Organizational Development, Major Professor Karen Watkins. Lawrence Michael Thomas Harris, Doctor of Philosophy, Educational Administration and Policy, Major Professor Walker Swain. Samantha Nicole Holder, Doctor of Philosophy, Anthropology, Major Professor Laura Reitzema. Renee Marie Holland, Doctor of Philosophy, Plant Pathology, Major Professor Harold Sherm, Philip Brannan. Isaura Maria Castillo Hernandez, Doctor of Philosophy, Kinesiology, Major Professor Ellen Evans, Janet Buckworth. Cortland S. Hyatt, Doctor of Philosophy, Psychology, Major Professor Joshua Miller. Mohammed Ishan, Doctor of Philosophy, Animal and Dairy Science, Major Professor Hongxiang Liu. Yuta Ishikawa, Doctor of Philosophy, Foods and Nutrition, Major Professor Elizabeth Sattler. Pragati Jain, Doctor of Philosophy, Pharmacy, Major Professor Arthur Roberts. Alejandro Hoyos Yaramillo, Doctor of Philosophy, Comparative Biomedical Science, Major Professor Robert Palomares. Justin Stewart Jeffrey, Doctor of Philosophy, Higher Education, Major Professor James Hearn. Portia Latrice Johnson, Doctor of Philosophy, Financial Planning, Housing, and Consumer Economics, Major Professor Andrew Carswell, Kimberly Scoba. Daphne Louise Jones, Doctor of Philosophy, Counseling Psychology, Major Professor Edward Delgado Romero. Il-suk Kang, Doctor of Philosophy, Statistics, Major Professor Cho-woo Park. Krishna Bahadur Katawal, Doctor of Philosophy, Crop and Soil Sciences, Major Professor David Jesperson. Rajrani Beckett Call, Doctor of Philosophy, Ecology, Major Professor John Drake. Caroline Regenhart Keegan, Doctor of Philosophy, Geography, Major Professor Nick Hanen. Wee-Soo Kim, Doctor of Philosophy, Kinesiology, Major Professor James Jang. Jun-Sung Joshua Kim, Doctor of Philosophy, Educational Psychology, Major Professor Stacy Newharth Pritchett. In-Hae Kong, Doctor of Philosophy, Geography, Major Professor Fausto Samiento. Elizabeth Goff Kozak, Doctor of Philosophy, Higher Education, Major Professor Libby Morris. Bradley Wayne Kubechka, Doctor of Philosophy, Forestry and Natural Resources, Major Professor James Martin. Yunryun Kwag, Doctor of Philosophy, Educational Administration and Policy, Major Professor Elizabeth Debray. Mitchell Evan Lam, Doctor of Philosophy, Chemistry, Major Professor Henry Schaefer. Ji-hyung Lee, Doctor of Philosophy, Statistics, Major Professor Gori Datta. Mary Elizabeth Lewis, Doctor of Philosophy, Horticulture, Major Professor John Reuter. Chidi Liu, Doctor of Philosophy, Engineering, Major Professor Mabel Falk. Jorge Mariano Lumbreras, Doctor of Philosophy, Psychology, Major Professor Brian Hoffman. Rachel Nicole Martini, Doctor of Philosophy, Genetics, Major Professor Melissa Davis. LaShawn Antonio McNeil, Doctor of Philosophy, Science Education, Major Professor Julie Luft. George Moyce, Doctor of Philosophy, Social Work, Major Professor Janae Beer. Ryan Heath Moss, Doctor of Philosophy, Political Science and International Affairs, Major Professor Scott Ainsworth. Lin Chuan Mu, Doctor of Philosophy, Marine Sciences, Major Professor Patricia Yeager. Leonor Eduardo Leighton Naranjo, Doctor of Philosophy, Plant Breeding, Genetics, and Genomics, Major Professor Carol Robacker. Nadia Noor, Doctor of Philosophy, Crop and Soil Sciences, Major Professor Aaron Thompson. Ashley Shaver Nyland, Doctor of Philosophy, Educational Theory and Practice, Major Professor Catherine Thompson. Kaylee Corpuz O'Donnell, Doctor of Philosophy, Educational Psychology, Major Professor Amy Reshley. Emmanuel Onabun, Doctor of Philosophy, Chemistry, Major Professor David Critch. Nicole Lynn Orr Burks, Doctor of Philosophy, Infectious Diseases, Major Professor Ralph Tripp. Russell Hamilton Palmer, Doctor of Philosophy, Learning Design and Technology, Major Professor Ike Choi. Jessica Massell Parks, Doctor of Philosophy, Financial Planning, Housing, and Consumer Economics, Major Professor Diane Morman. Farah Salim Patan, Doctor of Philosophy, Pharmacy, Major Professor Henry Young. Antonio Petruzella, Doctor of Philosophy, Psychology, Major Professor Justin Lavner. Marielle Alicia Renee Pfeiffer, Doctor of Philosophy, Plant Biology, Major Professor Chang Hyung Kang, Julie Stanton. Leanne Kathleen Purdom, Doctor of Philosophy, Geography, Major Professor Amy Ross. Trang Ho Tu Wa, Doctor of Philosophy, Epidemiology, Major Professor Christopher Whalen. Harshanini Niroshika Rathnawira, Doctor of Philosophy, Chemistry, Major Professor Tina Salguero. Robert Lundell Richards, Doctor of Philosophy, Ecology, Major Professor John Drake, Vanessa Izenwa. Talia Lauren Robinson, Doctor of Philosophy, Psychology, Major Professor L. Stephen Miller. Ted Daniel Rossier, Doctor of Philosophy, Political Science and International Affairs, Major Professor Rich Vinning. Chelsea Mulhan Scafoni, Doctor of Philosophy, Education, Major Professor Amanda Giordano. Israel Mohammed Scott, Doctor of Philosophy, Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, Major Professor Michael Adams. Nana Shao, Doctor of Philosophy, Microbiology, Major Professor William Whitman. Amrita Sharma, Doctor of Philosophy, Cellular Biology, Major Professor Kojo Mensa Wilmot. Learnmore Tanaka Shenje, Doctor of Philosophy, Physics, Major Professor Suzanne Ulrich. Harleen Singh, Doctor of Philosophy, Science Education, Major Professor Julie Luft. Chelsea Elizabeth Sleep, Doctor of Philosophy, Psychology, Major Professor Josh Miller. Matthew Joseph Smith, Doctor of Philosophy, Education, Major Professor Georgiana Martin. Francisco Javier Soler Babra, Doctor of Philosophy, Romance Languages, Major Professor Alberto Viate Isaza. Katya Sungkang, Doctor of Philosophy, Kinesiology, Major Professor Jepkorir Rose Chepiator Thomason. Kevin Joel Spann, Doctor of Philosophy, Political Science and International Affairs, Major Professor Anthony Madonna. Alton M. Standifer, Doctor of Philosophy, Public Administration, Major Professor J. Edward Kello. Yvette Stain, Doctor of Philosophy, Animal and Dairy Science, Major Professor Ignacy Mishtal. Caitlin Gossman Taylor, Doctor of Philosophy, Educational Theory and Practice, Major Professor Elizabeth Debray, Martha Alexat Snyder. Bo Yung Dang, Doctor of Philosophy, Poultry Science, Major Professor Woo Kim. Ryan S. Terry, Doctor of Philosophy, Education, Major Professor Georgiana Martin. Yasin Tapchu, Doctor of Philosophy, Plant Breeding, Genetics, and Genomics, Major Professor Esther Vandernap. Vivian Ho Tran, Doctor of Philosophy, Plant Biology, Major Professor Lisa Donovan. Tara Elizabeth Trask, Doctor of Philosophy, Political Science and International Affairs, Major Professor Amanda Murdy. Emma Victoria Troth, Doctor of Philosophy, Infectious Diseases, Major Professor Dennis Kyle. Maria Luisa Valle, Doctor of Philosophy, Pharmacy, Major Professor Jason Zastre. Tatiana Villarreal Altalara, Doctor of Philosophy, Social Work, Major Professor Jane McPherson. Ye Tao Wang, Doctor of Philosophy, Kinesiology, Major Professor Thomas Baker. Brandon Matthew Weiss, Doctor of Philosophy, Psychology, Major Professor Joshua Miller. Erin Rose Weston, Doctor of Philosophy, Education, Major Professor Laura Dean. Joan Elizabeth Wilbanks, Doctor of Philosophy, Psychology, Major Professor Cynthia Suveg. Mark Anthony Williams, Jr., Doctor of Philosophy, Educational Administration and Policy, Major Professor Walker Swain. Matthew Scott Wilson, Doctor of Philosophy, Physics, Major Professor David Landau. DeMichael Dwayne Winfield, Doctor of Philosophy, Chemistry, Major Professor Jason Laughlin. Jia-Jun Shu, Doctor of Philosophy, Educational Psychology, Major Professor Lane Bradshaw. Sudhir Yadav, Doctor of Philosophy, Poultry Science, Major Professor Woo Kim. Shujing Zhang, Doctor of Philosophy, Counseling Psychology, Major Professor Bernadette Heckman. Wan Shui Zhou, Doctor of Philosophy, Statistics, Major Professor Lynn Billard.
Omid Karami, Doctor of Philosophy, Forestry and Natural Resources, Major Professor Puneet Dwivedi.
President Moorhead, this concludes the presentation of doctoral degrees awarded this afternoon.
I present the doctoral class of 2021. Please join me in congratulating these outstanding recipients of the highest achievements at UGA.
and 35 candidates have successfully qualified for master's degrees and specialist in education degrees. President Moorhead, it is my pleasure to present to you candidates for master's degrees and specialist in education degrees. Will the candidates please rise?
By the authority vested in me as President of the University of Georgia by the Board of Regents, I now confer on you the degree for which you have been recommended by your dean and faculty with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto appertaining. Congratulations. You may be seated. In recognition of these student achievements, their name and degree will be read and shown on the Jumbotron. Please join me in honoring these outstanding graduates.
Specialist in Education: Tony Perez Atchison, Justin Lewis Brown, Samantha Mae Brown, Sarah Willis Gaucher, Persina Lynette Hale, Canisia Monet Harp, Juliana Lynn Hearn, Eric Leonard Holland, Jessica Ann Kerr, Chanala Latson, Amy Cherie Myers. Master of Arts: Alexandra Josephine Bunting, Julie Ann Buonasora, Cora Lace Burton, Wendy Caroline Elizabeth Calhoun, Stephen Jackson Caudell, Sheldon O'Haney DeRue, Mariah A. Foote, Audrey Lee Gregory, Lori Ann Junta, Whitney Glenn Herman, Haley Alexandra Howell, Jessica Aretha Lonan, Haley Rebecca Major, Brianna Delilah McBee, Mabel Awele Okonkwo, Stephanie Paul, Darielle Lachey Stanford, Jillian Nicole Tracy. Master of Science: Lincoln Fred Adams, Srinidhi Sridhar Adake, Shireen Afzali, Amina Hussein Ahmed, Alexander Dominic Apone, Manuel Alexandre Arango, Sarah Elizabeth Asher, Alexandra N. Mercado Baez, Arshad Bagadia, William Trevor Batson, Stephen Lorne Becker, Connor Scott Bolton, Jaya Winnie Bonner, Calvin M. Brady, Josiah Alexander Breda Nixon, Whitney Cherie Bronson, Peter Wilson Carden, Anson Chang, Ethan Lilio Charamella, Yogesh Govind Chaudhary, Charity Grace Connor, William Henry Creech, William G. Crumpacker, Candler Christian Curtis, Camden George Cusimano, Flannery J. Daughtry, Anushi Suwanathia Dharanayagala, Wesley Cole Dixon, Amelia Caroline Dubose, Thomas Patrick Dunn, Connor James Flynn, Hannah Victoria Gertz, Narinder Singh Guman, Fiona Louise Guinan, Kinsey E. Hargis, Padmanabhan Harihara Subramanian, Savannah Jordan Harris, Kaylin Marie Heyman, Akarsh Vasudeva Hebar, Caroline G. Hickson, Marlena Kate Holman, Jessica Lindsay Howell, Karen Prashant Jadhav, Anaga Narasimha Joshi, Shushanth Katharvelu, Anastasia Nicole Klosterman, Sai Sathwik Reddy Kandapuram, Chinmay Dilip Kulkarni, Vikas Kunchala, Kayindi Simbiat Lawal, Lauren Ashley Layton, Taylor S. Lowe, Sean Frederick Marley, Brian Anthony Marshall, John Alexander Mayhall, Taryn Ray McMurray, Colton Daniel Meineke, Arturia Trevon Melson Sillimon, Yijo New, Chinaza Davies Inamdi, Chinmay Umesh Parab, Evan Michael Puri, Patrick Michael Peterson, Nawa Raj Pokhrel, James Llewell Poole, Dixit Podal, Nilima Pulagam, Kaylee Ann Ramos, Nicholas Sean Reel, Alexander Thomas Rush, Alice Catherine Reuter, Andrew Kenneth Sadler, Diana Knight Scavuzzo, Shakaya Denise Shannon, Rajneesh Sharma, Amber Lee Shipman, William Todd Shirley, Libby P. Siegel, Haley Brianna Sigley, Prentice Elizabeth Smith, Brandy Joy Thomas, Paige Olivia Timberlake, Le Wong, Lauren Elizabeth Way, Luke Allen Wilson, Natasha Camille Womack, Jonathan Todd Wood, Diana Ophelia Zapote, Gregory Stephen Zock, Master of Accountancy, George Wyatt Alley, Neil Fraser Allen, Maggie R. Barrington, Andrew Tanner Berry, Catherine Chesley Brantz, Caroline Teresa Chipman, Matthew Richard Clinton, Jared Lee Cobb, Hannah Ida Cooper, Cameron Rose DeMario, Sarah Elizabeth Hardell, Haley A. Harvard, Elizabeth Mary Hassenplug, Alexandra Christina John, Laura Donwin Kruger, Kelly Elizabeth McNall, Reagan G. Mitchell, Grace Elizabeth Pavin, Zarek S. Plant, Matthew J. Ramsey, Chi Ren, Colin Mark Roberts, Sabrina C. Saavedra, Brendan Kyle Schrum, Mason Alexander Smith, Caitlin Elizabeth Welty, Irene Shu, Gina Chian Yu, Master of Agribusiness, Watson Lee Cowart, Elizabeth Catherine Hansen, Taylor Nicole McDaniel, Jonathan Mack Peoples, Jackson Parrish Wadsworth, Master of Agricultural and Environmental Education, Chelsea Dakota Begno, Natalie Annalisa Bennett, Latrice Monique Burgess, Jade Lene Fredrickson, Jeffrey Ryan Tomblin, Master of Arts in Teaching, Nancy Kimberly Resendiz Chavez, Caroline Grace Cook, Andrew C. Golner, Sarah Caroline Hicks, Cynthia Pham, Briannon Phillips, Arjine Da Vinci Randolph, Elizabeth Jean Wallace, Kelly Brianna West, Elizabeth Barkley Young, Master of Business Administration, Sarah Bergen DeChera, Master of Education, Allison Joyce Adler, Nicole Renee Ayers, Paris Sean Baker, Joyce Jiao Bui, Holly Michelle Chafin, Benjamin Robert Chandler, Emma Jane Charlton, Mackenzie Ray Corley, Whitney Elizabeth Denny, Stephanie Lynn Deaver, Catherine Pratt Devine, Olivia Grace Dingle, Megan Elizabeth Dober, Hannah Faith Doolittle, Stacia Lynn Fink, Isabel Lynn Flanagan, Madeline Rose Gann, Christina Maria Garcia, Allison Jordan Gross, Nayeli Guerrero, Matthew Braden Gustafson, Rachel Ann Hall, Brianna Nicole Hawkins, Lainey Caroline Henson, Connor Douglas Herbert, Hillary Lauren Hilgers, Allie Elizabeth Howell, Julia Elizabeth Iverson, Vera Liu, Jasmine Victoria Latrist McCalla, Deanna Marini Miller, CJ Andriana Mohammed, Mackenzie Ward Monroe, Patrick O'Toole, Joanna Ko-un Park, Susan So-Jin Park, Carmen Luisa Piguero, Autumn Ray Pelletier, Rachel A. Fans, Anne Christine Porterfield, Samantha Jane Preisinger, Timothy Jerome Pritchett, Kaustubh Rajendra Rajput, Courtney Grace Reese, Hannah Catherine Roberts, Celestine Asunta Rodrigue, Carrie Rainey Saylor, Madeline Marie Schroeder, Ines S. Shin, Catherine Shin, Cameron Shannon Schuler, Demetrius T. Snell, Angela Sparacello, Alyssa Galicia Standard, Jacob Sweeney, Kaylin Madison Thurman, Jessica Taylor Turpin, Alexandria Jordan Van Dyke, Chauncey Bree Walker, Courtney Renee Walsingham, Yena Won, Annie Grace Whitfield, Caitlin Dawn Williams, Javan Durans Winston, Mary Catherine Winston, Courtney Lane Wynn, Master of Forest Resources, Uriaha Shane Bauer, Matthew Robert Hill, James Hudson Jordan, Thomas Robert Snell, Master of Landscape Architecture, Pranisha Karmacharya, Aredamola Oluwasefunmi Okunmadewa, Master of Music Education, Will Ashley Johnson, Catherine Chastain Lesson, Mariah Elizabeth Smith, Rebecca C. Worthy, Master of Natural Resources, Stanton Cole Gaylord, Master of Public Administration, Natia Conyers, Jakia Nanika Gadsden, Savannah Cassidy Farr, Jordan Christina Fleming, Wendy Ellen Solinsky Holland, Morgan Rachel Kent, Hejju Kim, Yu Sung Ko, Kelsey Lauren Kruskal, Ji Yoon Lee, Nita Beatrice Marte, Alasia Renee Meredith, Jamie Lynn Panaritas, Patrick Juan Person, Lauren Michael Posey Jr., Tanzia Mahaboob Reddy, Maxwell Benjamin Simpson, Maria Danielle Solaris Wild, Melanie Rose Wood, Taylor Patrick Worley, Master of Public Health, Jessica Charlotte Maximic, Kelly Call Morgan, Amanda Nicole White, Master of Social Work, Kim Cynthia Bellinger Giguère, Rachel K. Coda Black, Michelle Brunke, Janice Alicia Cordova, Raleigh Amelia Ebeyami Eden, Caroline Marie Singletary, Ayana Monique Wright, Moliat Adejoke Yusuf, Master of Urban Plan and Design, Devin Tony Butler,
Master of Business Administration, Alexandra Kerr. Master of Public Administration, David Kayalo.
President Moorhead, this concludes the presentation of master's and specialist degrees awarded this afternoon.
Congratulations to our master's and specialist classes for the class of 2021. At this time, I want to honor two very important groups of individuals who have contributed significantly to our students' education at the University of Georgia. First, we are fortunate to have a faculty of exceptional quality and ability. As teachers, advisors, mentors, and friends, They have been instrumental in helping our students reach this point. Second, let us acknowledge the real heroes of this celebration, the family members and friends who made this occasion possible for each individual graduate. I'd like to ask the graduates to show your appreciation to the faculty, family, and friends at this time. This group of graduates assembled before us today represents tangible and inspiring evidence of the wisdom and foresight of those who drafted the charter of the University of Georgia and thus began in 1785 the great American tradition of publicly sponsored higher education. Graduates, you have proven yourselves capable of the highest levels of academic achievement, and we are very proud of you. Whatever your future holds, your time here preparing for life and citizenship is an accomplishment that you will carry with you always. The late Dr. Louise McBee, a revered UGA administrator and state representative, once said, "We are born obligated to pour back into the stream that nourished us, to replenish it for others. To the extent that we do that, we have lived a good and full life." Class of 2021, I hope that all of you will go forward from today and live good and full lives, creating opportunities for others to succeed just as you have. Congratulations. We will now conclude this ceremony with the singing of the Alma Mater by Sanders O'Toole, followed by a video send-off. Please rise for our Alma Mater.